So my name is Jonathan, CIO, co-founder Neuroflash, very much specialized in digital twins because I'm a psychologist and was forced to become a data scientist after my doctorate about 13 years ago, and have been trying to use skills in order to get people more visible. And we are always our first customer. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey with this. I'm going to show you some data on my own performance and show you how I got there, and then some of the things that I've learned along the way. So just a very quick introduction into the things that you are very likely already familiar with. I'm just going to mention them real quick. Basically, the SEO game is not fun anymore. Less and less queries are actually getting clicks because the AIs are pulling them from the search results. So yeah, people don't go to your website anymore. They just get the insights from the chatbots. Compared to some time ago, that is a big dip. And I can tell you also for our side, we were once at 500K clicks per month, and we're not there anymore. I can tell you that. It is not quite as bad as the 1/3 that seems to be the average overall, but it's gotten quite bad. And we see that across the board. So everyone that I talk to, I don't hear anyone who says that they've gotten more SEO traffic. It's all going down. But that's normal. And I think you're here because you may have also realized that. The good thing is that the traffic that stays has also become a little bit better. So when you get a referral from an AI engine, those people are more likely to convert. So that's great. Can it make up for what you have lost? Depends on how much higher you can climb in the results in those chat engines. What is important to note is that we now live in a world where you cannot say what people see when you fire off a certain query, because every audience gets a slightly different result. You may have a fitness fan that wants grip, sweat resistance, price. They get one brand, the audiophile gets the other one, and the remote worker get another one. We even created a little page about that. It's called AI brand visibility. And I mentioned that because you can, on the one hand, see how different target audiences, so you can see different generations, what they see when they query the AI, right? So I told you digital twins, that's kind of our thing. So we simulate Gen Zs, actual profiles of these people, and then we see what they get when they search for a car, for example. On the left, you can see generic. People get Toyota, Ford, Honda. But if you are in a Gen Z profile and you are in ChatGPT, now you get Hyundai, BMW, and then Tesla. Similarly, different for each of these different groups. So whoever your target audience is may already be different what they're seeing, even with the exact same query. And of course, the exact query that is being used is also massively important. Quick spoiler for the data I'm going to show you later. It seems to be one of the most important things to be found for the exact query that these people fire. Very important to note, because it really changes the way that you can look at your content, and that you have to look at your content, because it's not only how much volume do you get, but do you get the volume from the right people? That is something that is not happening with these AIs. And you can see here also the conclusion is that ranking is one thing, but there is the visibility per persona and per journey stage that I think is important for you to really play this game successfully. Okay, so what does the AI use? Because this is important now to understand why you may get cited or why you may not get cited. So one thing is AI reads a bit different than us. It reads in so-called chunks. You can understand this as you have a big page of 1,000 words, but actually only 100 characters is what the AI sees at any one time. So when it answers a question, if within of those 100 characters, there's not an answer to the question, then you're out. So that converts to above 50 words. And again, how does the AI read your page? It reads it ideally, or it likes to read it, when it has an FAQ schema. So if it knows that here is a question that people get answered on this page, oh, and here's exactly the answer to your query. That is what the AI very much likes. We get to the rest of them when we see the details of my analysis. So let's look at me. Let's have a quick look at my page. This is me, my weekend job, so to say. This page, jonathanmall.com, exists like this for about 4 months. Before that, it was hosted on WordPress, and it didn't look that great. And yeah, now it is completely HTML. It has pretty nice and quick loading site, and it has a very extensive blog. And this is how my journey into using all of this knowledge for my own good has started. And I can tell you one nice thing, and it's already online here. This happened 2 days ago, where I was at Allianz to give a keynote, and I was introduced by the woman telling everyone, this is an expert in AI, and I found him through AI. I asked ChatGPT and Claude, who's the best AI speaker in Hamburg, and both said it's Jonathan. And when I then talked with them, like, would he be perfect for our event? They said, yeah, absolutely, this is the guy to book. And so she booked me. And within a span of 2 weeks, when I got her call the first time, that happened to me 3 times. That I asked people, hey, why are you calling me? And they said, well, I asked ChatGPT, it recommended you, so now I'm calling you. But this was certainly not the case when I began. When I began with this, so about 5 months ago, I had like 50 visitors on my old WordPress site. It had very much the same content, but it was basically invisible. And today, ChatGPT, you can try it yourself. If you type in best AI speaker in Hamburg, you will very likely get me as a result. Couple of numbers. So, and no worries, I will tell you exactly how I did it so that you can do it as well. One of the key things that I did was increase the page speed, because I actually took it from WordPress and made it completely HTML. I did so with the help of agents. I use Claude Code, you can use Codex, Hermes, doesn't matter, ChatGPT even, but you can convert your page into format that is much faster for the Google Speed this Google Speed ranking thingy to load. And since the last 4 months, the organic impressions per day have gone up, increasing a lot. And now the biggest jump, before I was mentioned for my top 100 query set that I track with Rankscale, from 3.7%, it went all the way up to 17.4%, which is a massive increase. I mean, it's just a number, by the way. For me, it means more money. So in excess of 10K, I was able to make in revenue thanks to this increase of attention. And it's not like I never got anything before from the site. It was also hosted by my speaking agency, who even spent ads on it. But this is really a change that is big. Like, I noticed the change. So how did I do it? It's a combination of skills and data sources. What does that mean? Rankscale, fantastic tool to measure where you are, which queries rank, which are the competitors, all that stuff. So you can measure where you start. My first measurement was 3.4% share. From that, you can learn. So what I do with the Rankscale data is I download it via their API to my computer, let my Claude co-work, Claude Code, doesn't matter, instance look at it, and analyze it and learn. Which of my sites get mentioned, which don't, which get impressions, which don't. And of course, Rankscale is just one of the different data sources. Another ones are Google Analytics. It's Microsoft Clarity, which is basically a clone of Google Analytics. And it's, of course, the Search Console connected to your site. Those data sources tell you where you're doing well and where you're not doing well. And you can learn that once you get the data. What's next is you improve. You improve by, for example, changing the title of blog articles that do get impressions but are never clicked. And one way to do that is that you use Neuroflash's digital twins to simulate your target group, look at the title, and say, well, I would click this more likely if it was this title. Use that title, and they're more likely to click. You get a higher click-through rate, and that makes it rank higher. Then you redeploy after you have done that locally. I push it out again, new sites, and I do that every week. Every week, every Friday, I look at it. I see things have gone up. I'm happy, but I see things that are not doing well. I make them better. I publish new articles. I update articles. But it's this loop that an agency can do for you, but in the agentic world, you can do for yourself. My skills are all Claude code, but it doesn't matter because the skill just says how you do it. So you can actually do it currently with Codex, Copilots. Doesn't matter. In fact, I want to do a quick survey. You guys, can you tell me what is your current system with which you do things? Do you do it by hand, like manual, or do you have an agent? Do you only use ChatGPT in chat? Please write in the chat so they can get a quick insight. I already see Jules has Claude Code. Very good. Let's see what else we get. If you have no agentic system or anything, just type in manual, Claude Code, Claude Code. Nice, nice and uniform. OpenAI is out. We even have Claude Code. Nice and very. By the way, when I transcribe, it always says Cloud Code. So like in clouds. So yeah, agentic MCP and ChatGPT and Claude, fantastic. Yeah, you know what you're doing. I love to see that. One thing that I want to add here is when you measure, what do you measure? That is also where digital twins can come in, where they create the queries that are actually most likely to come in the human form from the target audience. But more about that later because it's coming right up. So you simulate the audience in the beginning to see what your baseline is for the people in the way that is most relevant. So how do we know? At Neuroflash, we are now in existence for 10 years. And in that time, we have measured over 1 million people, and we got survey answers from them. Per person, up to 250 items that they have answered. That's real human data. And from that data, we can simulate each of these people. So if you have a certain target that buys a certain product or service, we can find that type of person in our pool. We then pull them out and put them into your workspace. And now you can simulate that type of person to see how would you search for this, service? What are the questions that you most likely have? Where do I need to convince you? And from that, you can build queries. I build usually between 100 and 2,000 queries with that across the customer journey to really understand what it is and when that I need to be optimally searchable for. And this, like, it is in the end a simulation, a prediction, but it appears to have very high overlap with real human decisions. So we have with the Oettinger and with SCT and with 80 academic papers, there's a lot of evidence that shows that if you do it the way that we do it, then you can gain very high overlap with how actual humans do it. When it comes, by the way, it's important to what they're looking for. But that's not the whole story, because what people search for, you may already know. And many, like also ranking software and tools, they will easily just generate synthetic queries that are most likely to be surrounded your URL. But what they cannot do, and what we can do, is also simulate the what they look like across the whole journey. When you let the AI simulate a query, it will very likely be about 30 words long. But if you look at actual people, it's actually only 11 words. Well, how do we know that? Because Neuroflash is the market leader in content creation. We have a freemium plan, and we have over 1.8 million registered users who use our platform like ChatGPT. So we can see, without looking inside the messages, by the way, we can just see what type of queries we are getting, how long they are, whether they have punctuations, whether they contain spelling mistakes. Do you like what type of questions are being asked? You can figure all those things out to know what a real human query looks like, because that is what real humans are going to do in the end. They're going to send real human queries. And as you can see here, these queries, often lowercase, they're often lazy. People may be speaking it, and they're also very much full of typos. And LLM, as I said, is in the range between 15 and 25 when it invents these queries. And if you know SEO from back in the day, where you have like keywords and maybe like best buying shoe and stuff, sure, those queries still exist. But if you look at how people actually search on ChatGPT, those are only less than 10% of all of the queries that people fire off. They still exist. And for the keyword planner, they are easy to tell you because, otherwise it would be so super long tail, right? They give you the short queries that are very often happening. But overall, those are actually only a fraction of how people type things. So what I've just shown you was when you measure how you are ranking, say on Rankscale, you can simulate how your target audience does it. We do that based on human profiles. And then we can also humanize these queries so that they are very close to how actual humans type questions, look for your kind of product, look for your kind of service. And 2 spoilers. 1, this is one of the most important things to know when you create an article, because the closer you are with your article to the query semantically, the more likely it is that your article is going to be the highest mentioned and goes into the ChatGPT window of opportunity so that you are mentioned. And second, and thanks, Jules, for this kind introduction, we are adding this to Rankscale. So it is coming to Rankscale that these human-based and humanized queries will be the basis for your Rankscale adventure, your start of the whole journey of becoming more visible. Yeah, so that's the next thing that you should do. You measure with Rankscale, because Rankscale, and that sets them apart, they measure not via the API, everybody can do that, but they simulate the graphical user interface. And that is really key, because when people go onto ChatGPT, they get the ChatGPT system prompt. And of course, all the history and stuff that they have already done with it. And those are the things that are being simulated when you actually use the graphical user interface, as Rankscale can do. The real interface, the real engine. And of course, it stays comparable over time. Rankscale becomes the place where you know where you started and you know where you're going, how your share of voice, the citation rate, and your position has changed. I personally still recommend to use Rankscale as an aggregator and then pull all that information to your own computer and look at it, and also do the calculations yourself, because you just have more freedom. You can do more tests. You can do deeper analysis. I think when the agent has direct access to the data, that's a recommendation. But I still love that Rankscale is the place where basically it will always be saved for me. I can always just API into it and get the info, or push another run of analysis. Now we've measured, and now we should read the gaps. We, for example, had this use case together with EY, and we found that the unbranded queries, the ones where you don't mention specifically EY, which is, what does EY do? They do like accounting and stuff. So for things about accounting and how to be a professional in accounting, they were not showing up. And you can fill that gap when you create an article that can cover lots of these different queries. And that is, of course, what we've done. And you can also do that, of course, for existing articles to see whether you may want to change them a little bit to better align with the query that people have. But if you are not amongst the top ones to be mentioned, that was also true for EY, you don't happen at all. And I think this is echoing now the point that I made in the beginning. So a couple of things that are possible once you know where you stand and now you update your content accordingly. You can now switch the H2s of your articles with the exact queries that your target audience very likely has, and then put under it in 50 words exactly the answer. That is what the AIs do love. So comparison pages is also what you can do, but I'm going to get into that in a little bit, because that also has some issues. Another good thing that really works is if you put things that will appear in the fan outs also in your article. So, for example, we have an AI overview visibility report 2026, because very often when the fan out happens, things like the current year are being added to it. And that's also, by the way, how the twins search. So they will very often also put in date themselves because they're interested in the best shoe this year, right? You don't want to buy the best computer, 1999, but you very often add the current year to it. So a couple of notes here. So I changed my site. I went from WordPress hosted to my own hosted one. And as you can see here, the static HTML that I created was much smaller. And I even went into some loops, by the way, which was like, I mean, I'm not a programmer, but it worked, where I would go to Google Speed. I would tell him, hey, I only got 95. Here are the things that are not working well. I gave that to Claude Code, and he said, oh, yeah, okay, I need to, for example, on my homepage, it took more time to load these videos because there was some YouTube thing that it had to wait on. So it changed it because now these things look like they are YouTube videos, but they're actually just loading once I click on it. What you see before was just a thumbnail that is very quickly loaded, and only when I click on it is the whole thing loaded. That way, the first page is loaded super quickly, and that is something that my agent did itself. Once I gave it the feedback of Google Speed, said, "Hey, it's too slow. These things take a long time." It said, "Oh, maybe you can just create a thumbnail, put it on top, and it loads only when people click on it." I'm like, "Sure, that worked." And also the amount of scripts. I mean, WordPress is so full of like load that you really don't need it. Once your agent knows what your Google Analytics code is and it can connect to the Search Console, etc., there's just so many things that are load. Yeah. And of course, I mean, the weird thing is I hardly ever change text by hand anymore, but it's so much more efficient anyways, because when I talk with the AI about a new article I want to write, I just talk with it. That's all my own words. It writes it. And then I just do minor edits and say, okay, accentuate this thing here or there. I just don't need this WordPress interface anymore to change things. And if I really have to, I can still use a text editor, or I think there are even HTML editors that are pretty good that you can use, because your site essentially is on your hard drive. You can change it, deploy it via the agent. I mean, I talk about it like I would know what I'm doing, but I'm just telling the agent, and it does it, and it deploys it, and it works. So how am I closing the week? A couple of things. Currently, I write about 2 articles a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. I do schedule them as well. I also see that activities that I do on LinkedIn do have an effect. Even more so, though, are videos. And once I figured that, I got into all the recordings that I had from all my talks, and I let AI edit them. I also have an editing skill for that in Claude Code. It works remarkably well. And then, therefore, I can just create the YouTube thing with a thumbnail, with a description, with chapter markers, transcript, obviously, but also cut so that a 60 minutes, like even this webinar, I can easily later cut and remove all the fluff, the noise, the M's, and put it out. Because, yeah, anything that is not on your site still makes your site rank. LinkedIn is one thing, Reddit is another, and YouTube definitely, especially Google. Google likes YouTube. Who would have guessed? Yeah, and you could see how many of the citations were YouTube. So it was really a big lever. And it can happen super fast too. Like I have another site that I just built up, and it took 3 days before it was indexed and already mentioned in AIs. It was a good niche also, but once you understand this process, it is pretty straightforward. What you need to do, you do it, and you see the results. Funny enough, by the way, you don't see the results if you only look at one thing. So I noticed that when you look at Google Analytics, it was for a long time pretty much flat. Also because people block Google Analytics and stuff. You know, you have the cookie banner. But I just saw more and more people kind of getting in touch with me, scheduling meetings. And so it's not always obvious just in one source what is happening. The Search Console, for example, was much better. It showed me, okay, your impressions are really going up. And so it's good to have more than one data source. And of course, also on Rankscale, more than one AI interface that you should check in order to see what is happening, where am I being mentioned. Because honestly, if you don't measure it, you don't know. And there are so many AI interfaces now, and they are all slightly different. You need to optimize for each one a little bit differently. Your target audience might be more on one or the other. So knowing, measuring, adapting, that is really key. Also because the game is changing all the time. get into some insights of what the current state is, I think. But note that measuring continuously, redeploying, learning, that is just something that I think we need to do in the future. Yeah, because right now it works if you do it. I now talked a lot about my own page, but it works for clients as well. So I've now given all of these skills that connect to Rankscale, that connect to Neuroflash. Of course, you still need an account there, but once you have it, it just connects and it makes the skill work. It can create the blocks, it can create the images, it can create look at all the different data sources, draw the right conclusions. So a set of skills that you put into your agent locally, connected to all these different things, and that really works. Other speaker has done it successfully. Other speakers, sorry. We have a very big Swiss blog with over 4,000 articles that has been growing footprint in Switzerland. And we also have a very big enterprise client, EY, and more, that are using this to, even on this very legal heavy way, be able to be found much. I got to be honest though, along this line, you also see obviously other type of changes. So you as an individual on the very left, you can change everything, change the color, add another language to it, everything, no problem. The more you go to the right, the deeper your tech stack goes, the more heritage you have, etc. Obviously, you can change less. So an enterprise client, they can maybe adjust the title, but they cannot adjust all the other things because there's too many interdependencies. So just keep that in mind. And as long as you are small and nimble, you can really benefit more from being able to do everything with agents. And the more you're on the right, well, the more you can't. Nevertheless, I think the window is really open now, and also for now, because in 6 to 12 months, there will be ads coming to ChatGPT. It's not clear when. Maybe Jules already knows more about it. Rankscale is very much up to date with those things. But I think that will change the context again, because now if you have to pay, you also have to compete against that. But until then, organic is the way to go. And that's really exciting that there's this window right now where we can, I have an offer. I'm going to give you the offer, and then I'm going to give you even more value, I hope, by showing you the analysis of what really worked for my site and what didn't. A little bit of data science here. But if what I have done for my page, the combination of all these different skills, sounds interesting, I do have different ways of doing the same thing, where you basically get all of those skills, and with those building blocks, and if you know Cloud Code, then you can do it the same way, and very likely get the same results. Or of course, you can do the one in the middle or the one on the very right, where I even give you a guarantee that ChatGPT will cite you within 3 months, or we keep working, obviously then for free, until it does. So this is my offer. I'll give you the link now. And if you don't like that offer, you can also get your reports using the digital twins, etc., for free. So absolutely for free here on AI brand visibility. You just type in your URL here and get your scan absolutely for free. You can also just get started and see where you are. At this point, by the way, any questions? Because I know tending to speak so much, I want to get some feedback. Was there anything that you found interesting, where you have questions? Do type them in now. Happy to answer them before I tell you more about the experiments that I've been running and what I've learned from it. So how does your prompts look in Rankscale? So here are the queries. When I uploaded them, let's see it. So this is what we have done. So you can see here we have the different target groups that we're simulating. And then we have the different AIDA stages, so attention, interest, etc. The desire, action, and we have put all of them in, but also used some comparisons to how critical we think those are. We did a little bit of additional information gathering in terms of search volume for some of these keywords inside the queries to kind of have a mix between this is what people want to look for, and this is also a high volume keyword. And this combination then ended up into these priority keywords that we tracked, and we then created a whole bunch of different blog articles for it. You see here, we can put it in different clusters, and we created the URLs. You can also see here then the primary, the volume, and the competition, etc. And then also here when those things were released. So yeah, so those were the queries. And we've been updating them. These ones are even a bit older, I believe, because we found that once you know what is happening, what you put on, you also notice, okay, from these articles, we do get this or that type of traffic. People that create an account at Neuroflash, or that get in touch with sales, or maybe even become an enterprise client. Once you know that, you can also then go back again and see, okay, what were the things that actually pulled them in? Because no system, no prediction of anything will really tell you what works for you. Because who knows what works for you? You can only measure it. And once you know, adapt, do that more, do the things that don't work less, and iterate and iterate. Because everything is changing right now. So being in this constant loop of checking, learning, changing, deploying, measuring again, learning again, etc., that I think is really the key. And for so many of you to already use the agents that are able to translate those learnings super quickly into action is, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a little, let me see, I can give you the exact comparison between the organic traffic and all the ChatGPT traffic. Let me see where we go. All right, here we go. So you can see how everything has changed. So I created my own dashboard, as you can see, and you can see also on top the different things that I've done, because I tried to kind of figure out, okay, what did I do to deserve those changes? And you can see that these here are all the, I think this impressions now. And it's surprisingly few clicks, by the way. I still only get, like here on the different days, just a handful of clicks. But if I look at clarity and the recordings, or of course then on how many quotes I get, it's really very much qualified traffic. So I see people are really checking out the videos, looking at the form to get in touch and stuff like that. And you can see the mentions here in ChatGPT, that appears to be where most of the increase happens. AI overview is a little bit hit and miss. It went up, but only slightly. ChatGPT is really where I make great progress. And I can show you also in a second why I think that it's an interesting learning, and I think I will be able to get the AI overviews up as well. Because the thing is, I get cited a lot, but not mentioned. And I will show you why that is. What I did is I looked at what have I learned, because there was a lot that I have done. And I think I'm almost most interested in myself and kind of the human, I hope. And I want to share some of the findings. It's a lot of data that we've looked at here. There's 52,000 citations, over 1,000 queries. I only look at ChatGPT and the AI overview, but let's have a look. And I want to point out immediately what I think is most important to you. I already mentioned it. The best matching passage for the question beats everything else combined. So if in your blog article, there is a passage that semantically just matches perfectly what the search query was, then you're going to get cited. And that's a huge effect. There's a couple of explanations on what you will see in a second. I think when we share this, or when people look at this later online, pause here, read this. I'll try to explain along the way, because now here we get into a little bit of technical details, but I would just want to give you the big ideas so that you really walk home with what you can do next. Yeah. Let's skip that. Let's go where I think the money is. Okay, so this is what we have done. I tracked over the last 4 or 5 months a lot of questions, a lot of queries, collected a lot of data, learned what doesn't work, many pages, really doesn't do much. And then I've basically tested 20 different things that could make a page rank or not rank. And here they are. So on the right, you can see how important is each of these factors for predicting whether your page will be cited, yes or no. And the very biggest thing is the text matches the question. It's so obvious if you think about it, because obviously if somebody has a certain question and your article answers that exact question right below that question on your page, that's probably the best match. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer, but it's beautiful to see that so clearly here. So if you have a certain question like, what are the best running shoes for running up a mountain in the Himalayas? And that is exactly the phrase that is on your page, and below it, it says exactly the shoes. That is very likely to get cited. On the next rank here is the title query overlap. It's interesting because it's different, right? So the AI can already look inside, look at the passage, but the title also carries weight. And here the actual overlap counted. So is the exact word mentioned? Is there the word shoe and Himalaya? Again, higher chance to get cited, but it's not the highest, right? Because this perfect match semantically, that is what works. By the way, it says here cosine max for those data scientists. It basically means semantic similarity. So if it's like exactly the same thing, it's going to be the highest match. But if it's semantically similar, it will still match. Funny enough, by the way, length doesn't really matter that much because semantically similar can be two things. However, of course, with more sentence length, you can get more and more specific. So if you really have the exact phrase covered, you are more likely to get cited. The next thing that I checked was, okay, of all those factors that are kind of classical SEO, what actually matters? And you can see here, it's not so many. But what is really impactful is apparently what type of domain you are. And here you can see it, it's video platform. So especially AIO, so Google, loves your content to be in a video. I believe it's because that's difficult to fake. Especially, I guess, if it's real voice, it's not an AI video, and there's lots of content there that matches. That's why I recommend take your webinars, do video recordings, let AI cut it and put it out everywhere, and often, because it seems like that is a class of content that is, it will be cited. And of course, if it's on another domain, you don't have the issue of your domain authority, right? Because YouTube is YouTube. That's huge domain authority. And if your video is on YouTube, that's great. If it matches the AI query, it can get cited. Other things, as you can see here, are still important, but less so. So, for example, you have a QA schema that is better than the baseline. So 0 would be basically no effect, but only slightly. So the biggest wins appear to be super close to the query on the right platform, and some words overlapping in your title. Those are really the big winners. Here are a couple of things. I mentioned the big ones. FAQ code, I think, is really interesting. So make the FAQs super easy, machine readable. That appears to have a citation lift associated of about 43%. Interesting too is the answer sets near the top. I mean, and you also heard it in this video, right? In the beginning, you try to be like, hey, listen to the end stuff until because you want the longevity of the video, but AI doesn't care. And if it doesn't find it quickly, it might apparently may move on. So if your title says this is what you get, and then right below it, it's not what you promise, that's not great. So the higher the answer sits near the top, the better. Hence, a good practice is to have a title and then basically summary that answers the direct question that people would have immediately within 50 words. Concrete numbers and dates, very interesting. So kind of like the AI is looking for raw stuff. The AI doesn't appear to like marketing fluff. So game changer, amazing, terrific, blah, 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 doesn't work. Cool thing, by the way, humans also don't like that. Humans very much like concrete, almost boring, but just like matter of fact, this is what it is. You're looking for exactly this is what it is. People and AI seem to like that. And they're always looking for dates and information and stuff. Yeah. And then lastly, I found this interesting, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it yet. Published recently, but then left alone. So it's good if you put out something for the first time recently. It's great. It's news. But then you should also apparently leave it alone, because changing things all the time, that is not a good signal. And I just don't know what that means. Whether that means that I should kind of delete articles maybe and republish them so that they are published recently. I'm not sure. So this one, I still have to test it. But a couple of things that apparently do very little: backlinks, the page and domain, headings phrased as a question doesn't make a big difference. Quotes and citations in the text, and even lists and tables actually have a negative effect, as well as a body text that is too long. So just adding more words doesn't seem to work. Part of the reason could be, again, because of the way that AIs read pages in the embedding space. The longer things get, the more muddled things get. Like, things become more average. You just become a blob of text. And the shorter it is, the more clearer I think it is to be categorized in a certain way. This article is this type of article. If it gets too long, you are a book. You're just so broad across, too unspecific. That's at least how I interpret it. So some concrete learnings: put the answer at the top, let it say, and it should stay there. It's good. Backlinks, as I said, yeah, it can work. They can add authority, but it's less important than it seems. There is, however, a little bit of a caveat here, because great backlinks can have great effect. We noticed, for example, at Neuroflash, we were cited in the W&V, very well-known marketing magazine, and we got a huge bump on all metrics, including, well, obviously, AI citations and stuff like that. But I think it was because of cascade effect. You get mentioned, people write about it on social media. Social media gets mentions, and so very good backlinks and PR can still have a bigger effect, because on many levels it adds to the signal that what you are producing is good and site worthy. Yes, so FAQ code works. A hidden block that spells out the questions and answers for the machines, that is fantastic. But then putting the headings in a way that sound like a question, that doesn't seem to do much. At least, again, not in this data set of over 50,000 citations. And there's more information, but I think in the interest of time, I would love to leave it here, because I think the most important things were at the very beginning. So let me just rephrase them again. What do I do with this information if I were you? Really make sure that your articles hit the right, are in the wording very close to the actual query. Obviously, you can use digital twins. You can ask people, your clients, how exactly did you search for us, and then optimize for those queries. Don't, of course, create an article per query, because that would be duplicate content. It's better to then do a combination of look at search volume, see whether certain questions can be bundled or put as related questions in the same article, so that you're still very sharp in the content that you produce. Have the question words in the title is great, but again, make sure that somewhere there's the exact answer to the exact question, and these FAQ blocks make that very easy to do, because very often you can have an article and then just have these FAQs at the bottom giving the exact answer to the exact query. Put it at the top, concrete numbers and dates, add new articles frequently. And what I will do for sure now is just invest way more in video, because me talking, transcribing, now with AI doing all the rest, it is doable, and it's a great signal to get cited. I'm also doing Reddit now, for example. There are more sources, I think, that are also more important for American, US, or English content that are worth looking at, which were not important here, by the way. Also checked German queries as well. So keep that in mind. Your results will differ, But going back to my earlier main points, of course, the main point is do your free visibility scan, and then maybe get all my skills. But my main point is really this. It's still work. There's no magic bullets. You have to do the work. But if you have Claude Code, you have the skills, and put in the right data, then you can go into this measure, learn, improve, redeploy, and do it all over again. And maybe forever, because things are changing. And but the time is now. There may be now a window that is slowly closing until the ads come out. So good luck. And I hope Rankscale and Neuroflash can be of service on your journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan, for this very insightful webinar. I think we have a lot of actionable key takeaways that we can implement tomorrow or during the weekend when we have some additional time on our hands. We see a few questions in the chat, so I will quickly go through it. I don't know whether they have been answered yet. Could be that I did not notice it. Nonetheless, from Enjoy Online Marketing, would you recommend adding short citable content segments at the beginning of blog posts, or rather long-tail keyword-focused content elements, or both?
So going off what we have just learned in the analysis, it would be, yes, FAQ sections. So 50 words, begins with the question, is immediately answered, and then followed by the next question. Look at jonathanmoore.com in the blog. You will see exactly how I do it. Neuroflash.com, the blog, also does it very well. I think, I assume, Jules, that Rankscale in their blogs does it very well. It's a good tip, right? Look for the geo agencies and tools and see how they do it. They probably are drinking their own champagne. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I think the long form content, not so much, at least not for AI visibility. Long content is still good, put it on LinkedIn, create that as a video. Those kind of things can still work. But I think for blog articles to rank, FAQs killer, and don't get too.
Perfect. Then everybody directly add Jonathan on LinkedIn so that he accepts your request without questioning you. And then, I want to say thank you very much, Jonathan, for preparing these slides, for sharing these insights, for sharing the results of the experiments they have been running. Everybody else, thanks for joining. Of course, check out the entire overview of the Rankscale Summer Camp for some other webinars that you could be interested in. And then there's one thing left for me to say, and that is have an amazing rest of your day.